Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Boss Rush podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm your host, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me is not that retro code, but as I like to call him now, the PC Muscle Race, a.k.a. Exodus 803, a.k.a. LeRon D.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
You like that name, LeRon? I picked it myself.
That name... I guess that's kind of what happens when you're on my social media and you just see a whole bunch of like workout stuff and just and of course like me hyping all this PC stuff. But I guess I'm gonna have to like sidebar some of the PC stuff that I'm hyping all the time because there's something else going on. But I will let you announce that first.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ed brought you to my attention, and then we did that a couple panels that you were on, a couple panels, and like then you started showing up as guests, and then we like, okay, LeRon's gonna be a part of this because if we don't snatch him up, someone else will. So, and also you're doing your own thing on your own YouTube channel and your Twitch channel and stuff. So, you're an exciting person, LeRon. Just gonna
wow.
Lay it out there. But also joining us.
Okay, hopefully I'll keep that energy. Hopefully.
You will. I feel it. Also joining us for the first time, and also not the last time, new to Boss Rush. He's from LAN Party and Trash Talk, some podcasts that you should be listening to. None other than Logan Corkins.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's awesome. You're here for a very specific reason. Before we get into our kind of housekeeping stuff that we usually do at the top of the show, you guys are both here because people have been asking for the PlayStation show. The PlayStation show from Boss Rush Games is coming. Crossroads, the PlayStation podcast, is debuting live on Twitch on Tuesday, right here. And you guys are leading that show. Obviously not the only reason why you're here, but it is a main reason why you are here on this show today. Logan, before we kind of talk about the PlayStation show, why don't you tell everybody about LAN Party and Trash Talk, why they should be listening to it, and what it's all about?
Yeah, so LAN Party is really just we try to be the channel for everybody. I mean, we literally have the content, I think, for everybody. We have anime shows. We have a sports show called Trash Talk, which you can catch on Fridays on Spotify and wherever you get your podcast. Then we have kind of like a hanging out, shooting the shit show on Mondays called the LAN Party Podcast. And then we have just a whole plethora of other shows that we can kind of spit out at any given moment. We have Party Chat, which is our video game kind of free-for-all topic show. And then we do, for every major video game conference, especially during the summer of gaming that we've been having, we've been doing Party Chat reactions where we react to like Ubisoft Forward. We're doing one tomorrow for DC Fandom. We're going to be talking about the Suicide Squad game and hopefully whatever WB Montreal has been working on, so we're going to be doing that. And then, we've got a wrestling podcast as well. If you're a fan of the WWE or AEW, we have a show called Rope Talk where we break down every major WWE pay-per-view. We've got one up right now for NXT TakeOver 30, which is happening tonight, and then SummerSlam tomorrow. And then, for you music lovers, we have so much content for music. We've got a show called Drop the Needle, hosted by my good buddy Austin Campbell, and we literally just try to be the channel for everybody. I mean, hopefully there's something you can find within our channel list that you like.
That's awesome. Yeah, this past week I've been listening to a lot of Trash Talk and LAN Party and everything, so it's awesome that you're here. I like your personality. I think that your shows are great. And again, that's why you're going to be kind of part of this PlayStation show. Yep. So before we kind of get into our topics, we have a topic that I think is kind of important to talk about. And we have a couple questions that we've been kind of saving for shows, but the PlayStation show, Crossroads, the PlayStation podcast, the feed already has one episode on it as a submission for Anchor and Spotify and Apple, whatever, just to get it on there before we launch the show proper. We put the audio version of our PlayStation 5 reactions to it, so it's up there. You can find it. Hopefully it'll be approved soon for, Apple either takes like 5 minutes or 3 years. So,
that's the truth.
I love Apple.
It's it's there. But you guys are heading up our PlayStation podcast. You guys are exciting personalities. You guys come from kind of two different places within the PlayStation ecosystem. I'm very excited. What do you guys want to do with this PlayStation show? I know that's kind of a wide, generic question, but it's, Boss Rush is kind of like a place where I feel like friends come together to talk about games and things that they love. And obviously Ed and I started Boss Rush with the basis of Nintendo Power Block, which is our long-running Nintendo podcast. And, we didn't want to just, for lack of better terms, half-ass the PlayStation podcast, right? We didn't, because we don't really play a lot of PlayStation. Like, I played some of the exclusives, right? Like God of War and Horizon and Spider-Man and stuff like that. Like, I will get into those, but I'm mostly an Xbox player and a Nintendo Switch player because of, my wife likes to watch a lot of the TV and my kid and everything. It's just easier that way. So, but generally speaking, what do you want to bring to the PlayStation podcast?
Logan, you want to go first?
Sure. So, I think the cool thing about PlayStation is that it is, a place where everybody can kind of come together. And I think that's kind of what I want to do with the show is I want to bring different personalities. I think we have such a diverse group that's going to be on this show that bringing in all these different point of views, with LeRon being, a PC guy too, having that other voice where, Sony's been toying with the PC idea, they've bought in stock in Epic and we're seeing Horizon now releasing on PC. So having that other voice who can show, hey, these are all these great PlayStation exclusives that I'm playing on PC, and then having the fans like me who I love the horror side of it, like Resident Evil, Dead Space. Dead Space was like the game that got me into PlayStation, and so those games like that where you can just kind of have fun with it, and I want to talk about kind of everything about it. As PlayStation's getting ready for the PS5 launch, we're seeing some of the greatest exclusives I think of the console generation coming up with Ratchet and Clank, Horizon Zero Dawn, or Horizon Forbidden West. We'll have a new God of War game. We'll have Miles Morales coming up soon. I want to talk about the games that I'm definitely passionate about, and I think Crossroads is going to be a perfect place for that.
All right, so you're automatically my new best friend because you were talking about Dead Space, and Dead Space, in my opinion, is what revived survival horror. But anyway, we're talking about PlayStation. Originally, I was mainly a console gamer, and the PlayStation was my whole ecosystem. I did it all from the original PS1 all the way through to the PS Vita, and of course PS4 right now. But I shifted slowly over to computer gaming because I work as in the IT field, so basically career fuels your passion and stuff like that. When it runs neck and neck with gaming, it's an obvious evolution at this point. But I'm very excited for PS5, and one of the things that I feel like we will probably do as far as Crossroads go is we want to keep that same energy that the other channels of Boss Rush Games has. We're gonna do everything from basically having variety show type content as well as just your normal Q&As, and of course just a whole bunch of trash talking because Logan's a pro at trash talking.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, if Brody wears another Ravens shirt, man, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
But the one thing I just want everyone to know is with the PlayStation podcast, Cross Rush and everything, Crossroads, is that we just want to get in there, have fun, and just continue that same drive that all gamers do. Maybe sometimes we'll be competitive, sometimes we'll be your teammates, things like that. But we all just want to have fun, and we just want to talk about games because it's the only thing we love.
Awesome, yeah. So also, Brody from the Diggity Podcast will also be helping out on the show when he can, and so will Nelly, who is on our women's panel and is has joined us in a writing type capacity. So I'm very I'm really excited for this. I'm glad that there are people out there that are passionate about PlayStation who want to work with us to do this, obviously, and
if we're gonna trash talk, PlayStation is on top.
That's fair.
We're gonna trash talk.
That's fair.
Sorry, at least we have our exclusives launching or going
hey,
with our watch
what?
Instead of 343 over there. Oh, sorry.
Battletoads is a game that came out this week. Okay, so
Oh man.
Oh man, my passion is Nintendo. I don't mind throwing Xbox a jab here and there. Although I do host the Xbox show, because I play most of my third party games on Xbox, and I am a Halo fan. I love Gears is probably my favorite franchise that Microsoft offers, and I think Microsoft has done a lot to turn the ship around, but they did not help themselves with that Halo showing, and obviously it's delayed. So
I love that right after Halo gets delayed, right? Where Sony's VP of marketing comes out and says, "Hey, we're gonna have 20 games at launch," or it was some absurd amount. It's like,
Right?
yeah, we're just gonna come out with the big guns like right here, right now. We're gonna go and tell you that.
yeah, so I think
God dang it, I love you, Sony.
yeah, I think Kenna Bridge of Spirits is the game for PlayStation I'm looking forward to the most for at launch. I think because we weren't sure if it was going to be a launch game or not, and they came out and kind of announced that it was going to be there at launch, and then they kind of said the release date, and then kind of backed off of that for a minute. But
that's one of the games I am so excited for, and also shoot, I gotta pull my notes out. But the one game, it was a sci-fi game from the group that did the game Gun, and it was the one where it was a female astronaut. She keeps crash landing on this world.
Returnal, is that what it's called?
Yes, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That feels like it's going to be, if it's not a launch title for the console, it's definitely going to be a day one pickup for me. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
Yeah. House Market makes some pretty amazing games. So,
there were so many games during that PS5 launch event. Like, and I know I probably shouldn't always be comparing it to Xbox. Like, but
it's a fair comparison.
It is a fair comparison. But like, you watch the PS5 event and then you watch the Xbox showcase. Like, PS5 hit so hard, so well. I mean, yeah, I know they started out with GTA 5, but I mean, GTA 5 is always going to be on some console, some way. And honestly, for everything that Rockstar has done poorly with it, they've also brought so much great content to that game. But then, like the Miles Morales, I didn't fully expect that to be so quickly after Spider-Man DLC came out a year and a half ago. I didn't think that was time to develop a whole nother game. And I get it; it's like Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, but it's still a pretty decent sized game. And so to see that, I was personally thrilled to see Forbidden West finally get announced. Horizon's my favorite video game of all time, and so to finally get a sequel in that, I'm absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
Can I make a confession right now?
Yeah.
I still have not played Horizon Zero Dawn.
It's on PC now, though.
Oh yeah, I know it's on PC now.
Oh, it's on PC.
There's a story behind all of this though.
Better be a good one.
You know, like the greatest game of all time.
When it was coming out on PS4 and everything, I was like, yes, I'm going to get this game. But for some strange reason, it wasn't that I kind of forgot that the game was launching or anything like that. It kind of got blurred into some other stuff that was going on, and so it was one of those things like, wait, Horizon's out. And by the time I'd heard that Horizon was out, they'd already announced the DLC coming out for it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait. When the DLC comes out, I'll pick up the game, because normally when games launch, when game DLC launches, like there's a slash on the price. Even I'm not saying I was trying to be cheap or anything, but I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get the game, I know there's going to be a slash on the price, so I'll get the game at the slash price and then pay full price for the DLC and everything like that. And then of course, like some other nonsense happens, and it's like, oh, now everything's out and they're announcing a Game of the Year edition.
Yeah.
And so fast forward now, the game is coming out on PC, and guess what? Still haven't played it yet. Don't worry, though. I will correct that real soon. I will have that corrected for you guys.
I think you actually, like, if you didn't play it at launch, I think you made the right decision to wait, because the DLC actually takes place within the story of the game. Okay. So, like, it felt like when I played it, it felt unnatural to go back and play the DLC because it took place within the story of the game. So like I'm like, oh well, I guess okay, I kind of just have to figure out where this fits, So, but I love Horizon. I played it, and then I started playing Breath of the Wild, and then I tried to go back, and I was like, I need to take like a month and play something else before I go back to this, because I'm gonna just keep comparing it to Zelda, and I don't think that that's fair. And obviously Nintendo Power Block was kind of the only show we were doing at the time, so I was focusing a lot of stuff on Switch games, and but when I went back to it, it's one of those games that's just like, it's in my top 5 of all time for sure. I know some people have some issues with it in certain areas, and don't get me wrong, I feel there's some issues I have with the game too, but like, just as an overall experience, like I find a lot of games that I love aren't exactly perfect 10s. So, and then there are some perfect 10s that I just don't care for, so it's
well, with Horizon, the one thing that kind of grabbed my attention was when I saw all the advertising and the marketing did for it. The first thing that jumped out at me, I was like, this is like a next gen version of Monster Hunter. And then of course Monster Hunter World comes out a little bit later, and basically it's like, oh wow, like I look at everything that Horizon was doing, and I was like, man, like this is definitely a game that I need to be playing because it basically fits into everything that I like as far as games go, and it has that element that is like, okay, this is basically screaming Monster Hunter at me. And I'm not saying they tried to clone Monster Hunter anyway. Trust me, I'll let you know when someone's cloning Monster Hunter. I'll let you know, but not Horizon, not based on right.
I actually just about a week ago I re-downloaded Monster Hunter World because I played about 10 hours of it, and I was like, I get it, but I don't know if I'm like in the right mindset to play Monster Hunter World right now. So,
oh yeah.
And then of course I went back to like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I've been playing that game for 3 years. It feels like at this point, but
it's a great game though.
It is. I'm one of those people that every time I open the map and I see a question mark that's remotely close to me, I have to go look at it and check it out.
Because I think that's the most addicting thing about Horizon, right? Is like the side missions are so freaking good. I mean, you fall in love with this other secondary story, and one of my favorite things though that they did was they created these cauldrons and exploring how these machines are made, and you kind of see the different obstacles, and no cauldron's exactly the same, and the boss fights in them are so unique, so fun. And like the other cool thing is like you never defeat the same enemy twice. Like you have to be strategic in how you defeat each different type of enemy. If you're facing the alligators, there's a different approach you're going to take than when you're going against like the shell walkers and all that stuff. I mean, the game just does such a great job of blending all the different weapons that they give you and allowing you to play to your specific style. Like if you like shooting with arrows, you can do that. If you like using the bombs, or you like using melee, I mean, there's so many different ways you can defeat enemies in this game.
Yeah. I also, what I really liked about it was just the way that the side stories really kind of affected the ending to an extent.
Yeah.
And it just really, it made the side stories really feel like they were worth doing, aside from the platinum, which is still my first and only platinum trophy, is the Horizon. But,
well, and then the whole storyline with Elizabeth Sobek, and like how do you prepare for the end of the world when really you only have about 3 years to do it? It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts how well that game was.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
all right, stop making me feel bad for missing out on it. I will correct that mistake real soon.
No, I'm gonna actually tweet out and say Exodus 803 has never played Horizon, and we're all gonna make him feel bad for it.
You know what? Do it, because I love when people actually interact and have conversations with me on social media. So do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my LAN party guys, if they're watching, they're like, "Oh my god, he found a way to work Horizon into his first episode." Gosh, I've heard talk about Horizon for the last year and a half. It's been awesome.
Yeah, so it's the PlayStation show debuting on Tuesday. Will be on podcast feeds on Thursday mornings, along with our YouTube and on our website. So very excited for this. Shout out to Brody and Diggity Podcasts also, and Nelly for helping out with this too when they can. I'm not expecting everyone to be on every week. Obviously, I'll be in the producer's chair for that one. Sorry, guys. I know that you probably aren't sick of hearing me on over 7 million shows, but that's fine. It's fine. So.
Oh, whatever. You're part of the lifeblood. Come on.
I can't. I know.
It almost has to be like that thing of like, remember what was it? Pardon the interruption, where Tony Reale was like the fact checker. Like, Corey's got to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just at the end of the show, I'm furiously taking notes on everything you guys are talking about, and then at the end of the show, I have to correct you guys. Oh man, that was pardon the interruption. What a
Show.
what a show. So. All right, well, I guess we'll get into some of this housekeeping now. This is the Boss Rush podcast, where each and every week we come together to talk about the games and everything we love about them. You can join us live on Saturdays at 1:30 Eastern Time, or 1:30 Eastern Time on twitch.tv/BossRushGames live and be a part of the conversation. But if you can't join us live, no big deal. You can head on over to youtube.com/BossRushGames and BossRushGames.com to watch our show every Monday on your podcast service of choice. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review on whatever wow, I cannot talk today. Whatever platform you consume our show. It helps us with discoverability, and check out our family of shows wherever you listen to podcasts. So today's topic, it's been a pretty frequent topic in the industry these last couple weeks. Last week in particular, with the Control Ultimate Edition and their recent statement. Free next-gen upgrades. Where's the cutoff, and what should developers be doing? Obviously, Microsoft is doing their smart delivery stuff and updating their first-party stuff as they see fit. Some third-party stuff like Cyberpunk is a big one. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is another big one. You will get the upgrade for free. Others are charging a little bit more money, like NBA 2K21 is the first $70 title that we know of. And obviously PlayStation is doing some things to make sure their major games are backwards compatible, along with probably most other ones, so I'm sure God of War and Horizon will be two that are getting the major updates, and Spider-Man. So what are your thoughts? Because Control was getting a lot of crap about this last week with their Ultimate Edition stuff. Saying that if you haven't bought the game already, you can buy the Ultimate Edition in September. You get the free next-gen upgrade, but people who bought the game, the base game, or the game and all the DLC are not getting that as of yet. So,
LeRon, you want to start this off? Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've seen all the fallout behind everything that's going on with Control, and my thoughts are, in all honesty, I feel like you can't really fault them for how they're approaching this, because in all seriousness, let's look at this. There's a section of just not even just gamers, but the consumer market that they wait for stuff like this to happen, like a game of the year or an Ultimate Edition and things like that. And it's one of those situations where a lot of people sometimes you're rewarded for being an early adopter, and then you also feel like you're being punished for being an early adopter. So it's one of those tricky balancing acts that a lot of people have to do. I mean, there's a lot of games and stuff that I get day one that I know I'm like, okay, I know ultimately in the end, when they finish their complete development cycle and everything, they're going to drop one edition that's going to be ultimately cheaper than everything I invested in that. But it's one of those balancing acts that us as consumers have to deal with. So I do not fault them at all for their model of what they're going to do with this upcoming release of Control. I don't fault them. At the same time. And it's something I kind of preach about. You guys have heard it on a couple of the podcasts that I've been on. It's one of those things where sometimes gamers can feel entitled, and I get it because we are fans, and ultimately at the end of the day we can control the pocketbook for the companies and stuff. But also at the same time, gamers also need to take responsibilities, for sometimes the things that they get versus the things that they want, because. In all seriousness, we're launching into next gen. If you're thinking that someone is releasing new stuff for a brand new system or just for a brand new anything, and that everybody that's already paid for is going to get it for free, that's kind of stingy and selfish, because they have to reap those development costs and things like that. Do you want? Here's a good question for the audience. Do you want Control to be the last game that ever gets released from Remedy and that group, because they decided to take every single loss just to make sure that everybody that's played it before can play it again next gen? Or do you want to be able to continue supporting this company so they make fantastic games like this in the future? I mean, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen? Like, say the company, has a financial fallout, and they have to shut their doors. Then everyone's going to be mad and saying that the industry screwed them over, and that's why they're no longer making games and developing. So it's one of those things. Like, a lot of people, and I don't mean to use harsh language, but you got to use common sense. When it comes to your thoughts. Yeah, your thoughts and your expectations about what you want out of your games, and ultimately, you don't have to buy you don't have to buy this new version of Control. If you've already bought the DLC and you've already bought the base game and everything, you've got the experience.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like people, I understand both sides, but I'm actually like kind of leaning towards look. This game came out last August. Yeah. People who have bought it and played it have probably already bought it and had their time with it. And if you're buying the DLC, if you're that into Control, you've already bought the DLC, you're going to play it when it comes out. By the time these new consoles come out, you're going to be pretty done with Control, unless you're trying to do the extra missions, or like some of the finish up some trophies or achievements or whatever. Like, a lot of these people have already had their time with Control. Like, I've already had my time with Control. I'm fine. Yeah, okay, I get it. It sucks that, the PC version's been running at 60 frames a second and has all this extra stuff or whatever, but I made that choice to play it on Xbox, right? Like, I made that choice, and I played it. I enjoyed most of what I played. I had some issues with the game, but obviously it's they did a great job with the budget that they were on, and I've realized that the game also didn't sell particularly well, although Remedy has come out and said that they're happy with how it sold, but it didn't sell particularly well. So I think, who's publishing it? 505 published it, right? So
yeah, 505.
I'm sure they if you want the upgrade to next gen, right, you're going to have to pay for it. And yeah, okay, you're going to pay for the upgrades for the console versions. I'm okay with that, right? Like, if you want to play it with ray tracing and 60 to 90 frames a second and all the DLC and it's not $60, it's what they say, 40, I think they said it was.
Yeah,
so
40.
I mean, you're still getting a pretty decent deal out of it. So, like, I don't know. I don't care. I think it's fine. I would like to support Remedy because this game didn't sell well anyway. And I'm also one of those people that's probably not going to buy it again because I already played it. So, and I have no affinity for Alan Wake either, so I'm not playing the DLC. I just don't care.
Oh man.
When you say, like, when you actually throw out the actual price tag that the version's coming out at, you got if you think of it as a consumer, this is like basically taking your car into the detailer and putting a whole new body kit on it. You're not spending the same exact money you spent on your car when you initially purchased it. Mm-hmm. And of all these features and everything, these are upgrades that like technically like would be an arm and a leg, depending on how you spend your money elsewhere. So so there's another thing to take into consideration. I guess sometimes we look at video games as not just a hobby, but also like a financial burden sometimes. And a lot of people, like, I mean, I fall into consumerism all the time. I have literally millions of games that I bought that I was planning on playing and have not played yet, but I'm still spending money on it. And that's one of those come to Jesus moments that gamers, if not consumers as a whole, have to reconcile themselves with.
See, I look at it like this. Control was my game of the year last year. I thought it was just absolutely fantastic, especially in the horror genre. It did a great job telling an incredible story, and just the look and feel of it was completely different than anything else I think we had seen before. It did give me some Dead Space vibes, which of course I loved. But when I think about the next gen, it's like, I applaud studios like Insomniac that are supposedly remaking Spider-Man 4 PS5, which is awesome. But like, you think about the life cycle of a console. If you bought the PS4 at launch, you've gotten a good 6, 7, 8 years out of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, take that for what it is. I mean, you spent $300 on a console. You've definitely gotten your money's worth. If you can't plan ahead and say, hey, look, and I get it, this year's hard because we have no idea what the price tag is. We have no idea what the release date is.
Yeah,
if you can't
August.
Plan ahead, it's August and we have no idea, and it's supposedly coming in holiday. I think, you have to plan ahead, and you have to look at this as like, if I'm a serious gamer, yeah, I should probably not plan on playing these next gen games on my current console. I should think about, hey, do I want to get the PS5? Do I want to get the Xbox Series X? Whatever that choice may be. If it's Xbox, of course, it's wrong. But oh, there you go. If you want to buy a mini fridge, that's okay. You're good.
Oh, snap.
I gotta say,
I would like to buy a mini fridge. I hope you open the door and there's just like a special something in there for you, waiting for you to...
But like, you gotta plan on buying that next console, because I mean, there's so many games that we think are going to be at the PS5 launch that are going to be so much better on the PS5 because of the controller having all the sensibility to it that it does, and ray tracing is going to be, I think, bigger than people realize. And yeah, I mean, you just got to plan for PS5.
Yeah. I was speaking of the ray tracing part. I was watching the Digital Foundry breakdown of the Halo Infinite demo, and how people are comparing screenshots to Halo Reach that came out in 2010 to this Halo Infinite demo, and it's like they were saying, yeah, everything looks flat because that demo didn't have any of the ray tracing stuff that wasn't planned for launch. It was coming next year, but they said this is why this looks flat. This is, ray tracing is actually going to make a huge difference, and they used Control as an example of here's what the game looks like without ray tracing. Here's what the PC version looks like with ray tracing, and it almost looked like a totally different game. And I mean, I'm not trying to be a Halo Infinite defender or anything. I'm just saying, like, ray tracing does make a huge difference when you're looking at a game, and I think you're right. I think ray tracing is kind of like the next big thing, and I think it's going to make a lot of games look a lot better, and just, hopefully everybody has their OLED TVs ready to, screen wipe, because it's going to be a lot of just staring at stuff for a while.
As a techie guy, if any gamer wants to have an idea of what ray tracing can do for a game, look at Red Dead Redemption 2 with and without ray tracing, and you will just see exactly, because it's not even minute detail that changes. Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 looks like a completely different game when you turn ray tracing on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even look at the Minecraft demo.
Minecraft is a great one.
Minecraft, that it's going to give every kid epileptic seizures when you turn ray tracing on.
Probably, but it still looks great.
There's so many colors. I was like, this is Minecraft? Maybe I need to play this game.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, I'm going to have both consoles at some point eventually. I said I will buy a PlayStation 5 when Horizon comes out next year. It'll come out, and I'll buy the PlayStation then, right? Like, and then I'll probably get Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man with that, so I'll have those to play. And I said I'll buy the Xbox Series X when games I want come out to it, and Gears Tactics is being positioned as their console launch game for that. And I mean, it looks like that's the console I'm getting first, right? Also, hosting the Xbox show, that's probably the thing I should be doing anyway. But at this point, like, I don't know. Man, it's so hard because, like, Kenna looks awesome. There's so many different games for both consoles that look great at this moment. But then you look at the Xbox showcase and what they showed, right? Like, a lot of that's way far out, and the one game that was supposed to be their kind of centerpiece for this launch is delayed. And Forza is going to be a game. A lot of these games look like games as a service, and probably because they're building it around Game Pass instead of just the console itself, which I think might be an advantage of what Sony has in terms of like the story, like, because they focus on single player games that tell great stories, and how do you do that when I mean, Psychonauts is great, but like, that's not exactly God of War, you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know, I'm kind of in the camp of, yeah, okay, first party games are going to be upgraded for the next consoles, that's great, but they also have the first party budget behind them, especially with Microsoft, with Game Pass having that extra income every month from gamers. But if you're a third-party studio and you want your game on the next console, like, I don't blame you for charging for it, especially these smaller devs that need it. Like EA, okay, they can probably throw everybody FIFA and Madden upgrades for free, right? Like, that's just, but
and if it's done right all these games, if they wind up getting ported over to the newer systems, if it's done right, like it's actually going to be a boon to their whole marketing plan as the console generation, like lives its life. Because PS4, Xbox One, that lifespan is coming to an end. They're going to hit. Typically, most consoles, like once the replacement comes out, like typically most consoles have like a good 2-year run, and I say 2-year run being nice because some consoles drop off of a cliff as soon. Like practically every Nintendo system drops off a cliff as soon as the new one's out.
Except for Just Dance when it comes to the Wii. That game will always live on the Wii.
Selling units, it still sells units. I walk into Best Buy and I'm like, there's still Wii games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
but
RIP,
again, like
RIP Wii U.
Nintendo's somewhat hit and miss. I mean, the Wii U, I know by definition it was a success, but then you look at like post-release and post the Switch, it's flopped hard.
Yeah.
Would you call the Wii U a success though at 13 million units in 5 years?
I would still, because I mean, enough people bought that, and you look at how many games they've ported from the Wii U over to Switch. I think it's somewhat of a success.
Here's what I will say: like the Wii U is a success just in the fact that it helped Nintendo get the money and everything together to get the Switch out there. Because the Switch is in my opinion, the Switch is the true successor to the Nintendo Wii.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel Ed and I have this conversation all the time where like the Wii U was like the stepping stone to see what they wanted the Switch to be, and they didn't quite nail it the first time.
Yeah.
And then, the Switch is obviously a huge success, but I don't think we would have the Switch without the Wii U.
Honestly, when I heard them talking about the Wii U coming out, and the first thing I saw was that mock iPad controller, I was like, oh no, this is not the direction I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at like the Switch Lite, it somewhat looks like a Wii U kind of controller thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a nicer looking version of the gamepad for sure. Which I hope, whatever the next Pro Switch or whatever, please get rid of the Joy-Cons. Just have the attached controllers. I don't.
You think so?
I don't think so. No, because the Joy-Cons make them a ton of money in a lot of games. Like my nephew's favorite game on the Switch is 1-2 Switch and Mario Party, and you can't play those games without the Joy-Con, right? But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the Joy-Con is the most expensive controller on the market. Like I mean, it makes pro controllers for other consoles look like they're cheap.
Yeah.
But like they could have definitely expanded on the Pro controller line for Switch. I felt like they kind of underdid that.
Yeah, like where's all of our special edition controllers? Like I have the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 one. Like that's the one that I use for my Switch. Mostly because it has the upgraded D-pad, and the other two are just the launch ones. But like we had a Splatoon. Oh yeah,
you guys made me feel so bad about my original Pro controller for the Switch. The last podcast I was on, and I was like, oh, it's inferior.
The Xenoblade one has the new D-pad, and it feels so much better. It just feels so much better. But they had the Smash one, they had the Splatoon one, and they had the Xenoblade one, and they haven't done a special edition one since. They've been going to those Power A. Third-party controllers that are just kind of like, no, just give me a Pro controller, please.
But like, I think Sony could take a big lesson out of Nintendo of like, with the PS4 controllers, they gave you as many colors as you can think of, but they didn't give us game-specific controllers, and I really want that personally. I've seen mocks of like the Miles Morales PS5 and controller. It's like, dude, I want as much customization as I can on this next generation, because it's like when Nintendo's done with their Joy-Cons is something I totally wish we had in.
And I am so happy I got that Uncharted Edition light blue controller. I am so happy because that thing disappeared fast.
Yeah. Although Sony did say I think a lot of them are getting reprints because of the whole you have to play PlayStation 4 games with PS4 controllers, I think. Is that what they said?
PS4 controllers, yeah.
But
I'm not that upset because I've always loved the DualShock controllers, the DualShock design. I'm not that broken up. I mean, hopefully they drop down in prices a little bit, but I'm not that broken up about it.
Yeah, hopefully they drop into like $40. Although you can get the black ones on Amazon for about $40. So
yeah,
I'm always surprised at Sony. Well, I'm not surprised, but I wish they would go the route of Xbox Design Labs and just let you do that. But
Because that was that an Elite controller 2? What was the one that they talked about like in June? That was freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what that was.
I think it's the Elite V2. So
yeah, me too.
Which I would like to have one, but I'm not spending $175 on a controller, especially with a 2-year-old running around.
Company. Every major company has like their little niche or their specialty as far as what they do with their branding and stuff like that. And I will say this: Microsoft giving you all these options for the controllers and stuff was freaking amazing, because it made me as a PlayStation player like, man, I wish I had some of that. Yeah. Like even those specialized Xbox controllers, they don't even work They don't even work the same way on the PC. And like Windows made sure to like, hey, like the Xbox controller is the best controller you can use for all these games.
Because like as much crap as I give Xbox, like there's so many things that they do right that, yeah, I mean, Sony's got the games, Sony's got the third-party support, I think a little bit better, but like Xbox has got, I mean, Game Pass is undoubtedly the greatest thing that Xbox has created in the last decade, compared to like PlayStation Now, where like PlayStation Now is okay. They've given us some pretty good titles there. I mean, Hitman 2's up there right now, and it's definitely worth a playthrough if you haven't played it yet. But Xbox has like the infrastructure and the community support and all that stuff that I wish Sony would invest in.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Here's the one thing I will say, because like Microsoft and their Xbox brand, they've been making some fumbles lately. But the one thing I will always say, is that Microsoft did the entire gaming community a favor, especially when they launched Xbox 360, and then of course got into Xbox One. They kind of did the same thing that Apple has been doing to a lot of the consumers. Like, they're giving you something that you didn't actually know that you wanted or needed in this part of technology, and it's the one thing, like I said, like it always looks like on paper like Microsoft is always taking a loss with their Xbox brand and stuff like that. But the stuff they do basically is future proofing the way gamers go about how they do things, and I'll always give them kudos for that, even though I would probably never be an Xbox champion. Yeah.
I mean, Xbox takes a risk. I mean, I the one thing I absolutely love that they did this year was xCloud being a part of Game Pass. I mean, Stadia was never, I think, competition for them, but it was like, hey, here's a technology that we've got a little bit better infrastructure on anyway. Let's throw this for you for free if you have Game Pass. I thought that was just absolutely genius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Game Pass is. I think Microsoft is selling Game Pass, and then the boxes are where you're going to play, right? Like, play on your phone, play on your Xbox, play on your PC. I think Game Pass is the platform now that they're selling, and they don't care where you play. And I think that's their mindset now. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but we have some questions. And one actually ties into some of the stuff we were talking about just now. But D'Angelo Garcia writes in. He says, "Hey, gang, the new consoles are coming out this fall. What is going to drive you to purchase one of them, if at all?" So we've kind of talked a little bit about them, right? Like, we've talked about, obviously, PlayStation versus Xbox. What's the launch lineup kind of looking like? Like, what's going to drive you to buy one of these consoles? Are you guys getting one this fall? Or are you just going to wait and see? Obviously, we're all fans of something here, but is that fandom enough to buy a box without a killer app launch title?
Absolutely. I will. PS5 will be a day one purchase for me, mostly because I do think Miles Morales is going to be there at launch, and I've been such a huge fan of everything Insomniac's worked on, from Sunset Overdrive, which I get it, Xbox title, but
PlayStation owned now though.
Yeah, PlayStation owned now. Which, please, let's get a Sunset Overdrive too. I mean, that's long-term dreams.
I wonder if they're going to try to make a deal with Microsoft to get that first game on, because Microsoft owns the publishing rights, and I think if, like, once these new consoles come out, Sunset Overdrive's old enough now, like, maybe they make a definitive edition for PlayStation, and Xbox Game Studios just publishes it on PlayStation at this point.
So I look at Titanfall as kind of the example for that, because Titanfall 1 didn't come over, and I don't think Sunset Overdrive will ever make it to PS5 or PlayStation at all. But I think Sunset Overdrive 2, absolutely. I think that's a more realistic thing, because with Sony, they're going to have to build different things around. I mean, with the enhanced controller and all that stuff. I mean, And we know this game's probably not in development at Insomniac right now, with just their hands being in so many other things right now.
Right.
But I mean, if it comes, I unless they did like $100 version that does include a port over for PlayStation, but I just don't see that happening. But if buying a PS5 at launch, what I'm looking at is I want a true 4K right there out of the gate. I have a regular PlayStation, I have the PS4 Pro. So I want that true 4K, and then I obviously want that new controller. That new controller, with how realistic it feels and everything, and the more details we got this past week, that to me is what sold me on this console. And then, yeah, the games lineup is going to be absolutely insane. So,
all right, hold on a second. I'm already getting blitzed on social media about not playing Horizon. I'm already getting blitzed.
We did it, y'all.
We did it. Good job, everybody.
Yes.
Take him down.
Hey, so real fast, I need to be right back. So I'm gonna drop off. I'm gonna drop off here, but I'll be right back.
Okay. Cool.
All
right. But I think for me, like, it's not even the exclusives that are gonna keep me from buying this. Like, I will play Gears Tactics on Xbox Series X. I've played a little bit of the PC version, just not a PC guy. Just not. I will get Xbox Series X, honestly, to play Destiny at 60 frames a second, and that type of thing. I'll play it to get Destiny at 60 frames a second. I will get it to play enhanced versions of games I already have. I will play it to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla at a better frame rate, and hopefully they bump it up from 30 for Series X and PS5. But honestly, those are the games I'm looking at to play on Series X day one.
I mean, so I've got an Xbox One, and I have thought about getting the Series X because I specifically do want to play Cyberpunk on an Xbox. I don't want to play it on PlayStation just because it feels like it's fitted more for the Xbox style.
Yeah.
And Cyberpunk's, dude, I mean, that's such a huge title for Xbox. Hopefully it's at launch for them. I assume it will be. But, that's a game right there that could easily get me to say, hey, I'll pick up an Xbox just to have it for Game Pass. And there is a lot of value, I think, for Xbox owners or for people to get the Xbox Series X. But then so Microsoft's made it the point there to say is you don't have to have it at launch. We're going to continue to support the Xbox One for the foreseeable future, and I do appreciate that. So I mean, if I'm driven to buy one of the two, it's going to be the PS5 just because of the urgency, I think, to get the exclusives and get them with the ray tracing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, look, I want a PlayStation 5. I do. I hear things about their special editions that they're going to change the way we think about special editions. So I'm really hoping like maybe one day I'll be able to play Horizon on a massive robot dinosaur instead of just a normal looking console. I think that would be really interesting. But I'm all about playing games where the games feel right and play right. I play a majority of my games on my Xbox because that's the ecosystem I'm invested in. But there are games that I feel like play better on PlayStation just because of the way the sticks are, or like a lot of platformers I feel like play better on PlayStation, right? Like I just feel that way. A lot of first-person shooters play better on Xbox. I like the staggered stick stuff for first-person shooters, but overall, I will definitely own both consoles at some point, and so.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying, because like when I play Rocket League competitively, if I'm playing just casually, I'll play it on Xbox, but if I'm playing competitive, I have to have it on PlayStation just because I'm so much more used to that setup a little bit more than I am playing it on Xbox.
Exactly, yeah. So, LeRon, what do you think about these next-gen consoles? What's going to get you to buy one?
Okay, well, no, honestly, PS5 is definitely looking like a day one, if not week one for me. Just my friends just call me the Sony fanboy, and they meant that not just with actual PlayStation brand, but they also meant everything Sony, because there was one point when my TVs were Sony, all like my Blu-ray devices, were all the technology and stuff like that. But I was not a launch person for PS4, and I was always, when it comes to consoles, like I've always been one of those people where it was like, let's wait for everything to shake out, because like every console is plagued with like launch issues and things like that. But just everything I saw at PS5 was like, no. If I miss the launch of this, people are going to think I'm an idiot. And So there was no absolute one thing sale for me. Like everything I saw on that showcase for PS5, and I even did a reaction video, on my YouTube channel for that. Everything I saw in the reveal video and everything is like, you know what? Oh, I don't even care if you guys didn't give me a price. I don't even care if you guys didn't give me like the actual launch date and stuff like that. I'm getting it. And Best Buy just sent out a notice to everybody, to like all their customers, saying PS5 pre-orders are open now. Guess who plopped their money down?
They're open now.
I got an email for it about a week and a half ago. As a matter of fact, I got the email when I did my road trip to Pennsylvania for work. I got that email, so yeah, it's been about a week.
I know. I think Brody and I are going to talk about, or I think we were going to talk about this on Tuesday. Is that I think we're getting a price and date this week. I mean, it just their marketing campaign is lined up with this. You don't put a ton of money into a marketing campaign if you don't have that big price or at least the date to get those pre-orders in. And this is crunch time, honestly. I mean, you got September, October to sell these consoles. By November. I mean, really, we've got 9 weeks until what we think could be the launch. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a big week.
I still can't believe, because we knew the price in the consoles in March the last time.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't believe we don't know literally anything about these consoles.
I was gonna save this. I was gonna save this for the podcast Tuesday night. I was gonna save this, but I'll just go ahead and I'll just put it out there in the wild. Microsoft and Sony are playing a big game of chicken right now.
Yep.
Because of the fiasco back at E3 where Microsoft went first and they threw their information out there and put their price point out there. It gave Sony enough time to turn around and scramble later on that day and say, okay, Xbox One selling for this, PS4 is going to be this. And now I feel like both the companies are playing this massive game of chicken. They want to see who does something first. And it's crazy too, because like one of the European basically like a European version of Best Buy accidentally leaked out some prices and stuff, and it kind of lined up with what I was thinking was going to be the pricing for the model anyway. But as fast as it was out there, I took screenshots of it. As fast as it was out there, they removed it and everything. And I feel like the reason why we have not gotten price points just yet is because, like I said, Microsoft and Sony are trying to figure out who's going to flinch first.
Yeah. Also,
whoever goes first, the other one's going to undercut by $50 to $100.
Exactly.
Well, my theory was that the Series X is going to be the same price as the digital PlayStation version, and then the way they're going to undercut Sony is that second box is going to be probably $150 cheaper, probably at some point.
Because I think realistically, you're looking for the PS5 digital version probably $450. For the disc version, you're probably looking at $600.
Yeah, I was saying $499 and $599. I think.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. That's
the way I feel too.
Which is what I expect anyway, But if you go by Monster Energy drinks in their leaked giveaway, that Series X is also going to be $600. So.
I mean, there's just so much that I was reading an article a few months ago. I was like, there's so much in this console that, Sony was having a hard time figuring out what the price was going to be, because at launch, you're going to take a little bit of a loss just because of how much stuff they had to put into this console to make it worth having this generation. So,
yeah. So I mean, both consoles I feel like could try to take a loss and try to make it up in software, because I think most of them are going to do that. Most consoles do that anyway. I mean, PlayStation 4 didn't, obviously, but I don't think the Switch took a loss either, which is why it's so underpowered. But I really feel like to get these consoles in people's hands, they're going to try to undercut each other. Like, it doesn't matter who goes first; the other console is going to be cheaper.
Yeah, it's what we expect, and hopefully what equalizes this whole thing going into like the PS6 era and Xbox, whatever they decide to call it, the next era, is that both companies between the two different console generations take enough of a loss hardware wise that they're like, you know what, we got to keep the board as even as possible, because I'll say it early, and I'll make sure to repeat it again on the Crossroads show. I'll say it right now. I feel like the the focus on the games is ultimately what's going to win. But then again, the focus on the games has won every other console generation. I mean, hardware aside and stuff like that. Because there are certain things the Series X is edging out the PS5 on as far as technology and hardware goes. But there's also other things that the PS5 is edging out on the Series X as well. So and of course Nintendo is just we coast because we know that outside the hardcore environment where Xbox and Sony resides, everybody else is there.
I also think in terms of undercutting price, I feel like Sony. If PlayStation's more expensive than the Series X, I think Sony can get away with it just on the pedigree of their first party alone. If Series X is more expensive, I don't think Xbox could get away with that.
I guarantee. And I feel like here's the thing about it. Like, okay, so let's say in some bizarre world, like Series X undercuts Sony to the point where it feels like Microsoft is going to win the console generation. All they have to do is just revive some of their older franchises, and once again, people will be back. They will spend the money.
Okay, but see, here's where I'm going with this: is that why would people buy the Series X when, like, Halo, their heaviest hitter's not going to be there? When you have, Cyberpunk's going to be there, but, like, there's not a ton of exclusive right out the gate that Xbox has got over Sony. I mean, Sony, Ratchet and Clank, we know, should be ready to go, and Miles Morales. I mean, those are two huge franchises that you can't just... Microsoft doesn't have anything to that degree that I think they're going to be able to launch with.
Oh man, Logan, we're going to be the greatest on these Crossroads podcasts because it's the same thing I said. It's the same thing I said. The main thing that prevented me from getting Microsoft the Microsoft consoles, starting with the 360, is the fact that they want to make sure that the PC gaming side also had access to those exclusives and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's a bad model, but when you look at a guy like me who's put a lot of money into a PC,
right,
and the PC already can do things leaps and bounds better than the current consoles, what's the point?
Exactly.
Because even with Mass Effect, and everyone knows I love Mass Effect, but the fact that they couldn't keep Mass Effect onto a console. And they really messed themselves up when they decided. Well, I mean, they really messed themselves up when EA got it, and it wound up becoming multi-platform. I wound up playing the Mass Effect trilogy in one big box set on PS3.
Yeah, right. That's the one mistake we sometimes talk about on Arsenal X, where when Mass Effect 1 was published by Microsoft should have bought BioWare as soon as Mass Effect was a hit. They should have.
But now, like, the thing I love that Xbox has done is they've bought incredible studios across the board. I think one of the biggest acquisitions was actually Tim Schafer. Tim Schafer's working on Psychonauts 2. He's an ingenious creative director. The only critique I've ever had of him is that it takes forever for him to produce a game. But that's because he's so meticulous and he wants to make sure everything's as perfect as he can when it launches. Xbox has done a great job of setting themselves up for the Microsoft Studios platform going forward. It's going to be, though, 2 years before any of those major games that they're working on really come to life and everything. And that's that's where I think Xbox kind of got a little bit ahead of themselves. Was like they should have done this in the middle of this generation. We're starting to buy all those different companies and stuff like that. I mean, I know Sony bought Insomniac. What was it? Was it a year and a half ago? Or no, it was last year.
It was beginning of last year, I think.
Last year. And so, like, Sony kind of thought of that as, hey, we can start doing this now, and then we're going to set up for the PS5 launch. We're going to set up to have Miles Morales there, and then we're going to set up for all the other stuff that they're going to bring. But then, like, Xbox bought, what is it, like 12, 13 studios, something like that?
Yeah, they have 16 studios now. So
right,
yeah.
But to like, me, it's going to take forever for them to develop their games.
Yeah, but to me, like, it's almost like, I don't know if quantity always equals quality in terms of that, but also like Obsidian is a great developer, right? We saw that with the Outer Worlds. That's now a Microsoft franchise. And Exile's releasing Wasteland 3 next week. It's multi-platform, but that is essentially an Xbox brand now. I think Obsidian's new game, Avowed, looks like the Elder Scrolls game that people want within the Pillars of Eternity franchise. So, and then, whatever Fable ends up being, and then Ninja Theory's doing Hellblade, which looks incredible. Like that trailer looked incredible. I know it's just an in-engine teaser or whatever, but it looked incredible. I'm almost hoping they turn that franchise into something like Horizon instead of just the small. Don't get me wrong, Hellblade was amazing, but I think if you want this to make a bigger impact, you need to make the game feel more mainstream and have people experience it that way instead of just this small, tiny experience. So, although I did love Hellblade a lot.
Now, Corey, where do you go on this? Because, okay, we've seen Sony put a major investment into the Epic Games Store or Epic Games just in this past year. Do you think that even though Xbox is on Game Pass PC and they have the PC version, do they need to invest in like Steam to be able to compete in that kind of realm with Sony?
I don't think they need to invest in Steam. I think they're already doing that by putting their games there, right? And they're like, you can pay full price for our games through Steam, or you can subscribe to Game Pass and get them through the Microsoft Game Store. And I think the ability to choose where you play their game, because they're still getting 30% of that from Steam, right? From Steam sales. So, which is essentially a little bit more than what they would get from somebody playing it through Game Pass. And if you play it through the Microsoft Store, you probably already have Game Pass. So I feel like that subscription model allows them to be more agile in where they place their games, right? And you see some of their games popping up on Switch. Not a lot, obviously, because, well, it's Switch. But, I mean, Ori in the Blind Forest is actually the best.
Amazing game.
Besides the PC version, if you want to play it on console, the Switch version is the best version because it runs at 60 frames a second.
Yes.
Right? And the Xbox version still runs at 30. So I think them being able to be more agile where they place their game. There was talks of them putting Master Chief Collection on PlayStation at one point.
Yeah.
So they can do that. You know, if you want to play the old Halo games, I wouldn't put it past them if they put the Master Chief Collection at some point with crossplay on PlayStation. But if you want to play the newest Halo, you have to play it on Xbox or PC, right?
You know what? Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you said crossplay, because that is honestly the one thing I think that's the one thing. If the major companies can get their act together behind that, they will have. It doesn't even matter like who sells their console at what price tag. They will have the most fortuitous path with sales at that point. And you know, it just baffles me sometimes, like this whole battle that was going on between Xbox One and PS4, you know, with crossplay and stuff like that. I'm like, this stuff isn't that hard, because no, honestly, the developers of the games were like, we have it already set up in place, that if we want to do, if they want to do this, we can do this, you know. Yeah. So crossplay would be amazing, and also game, you know. The more diverse and cutting edge that gaming has become over the generations, the more it's starting to look like there's about to be a not just a ceiling but also a bottom floor, and it looks like we're going to see more and more games that were. I'll put it like this: when Cuphead came to Switch, okay, I knew something incredible was shifting with the gaming market, because we're going to see a game that's like supposed to be exclusive to Xbox come to a Nintendo system. I was like, the world's not ready for this. And just look at how things have happened since then, you know. And you know, I'm not even talking about Cuphead coming to PS4. Just the fact that games that we never thought we would see on a competitive on the competition's side are there now.
Yeah. Essentially, you know, it's going to be like buying a DVD player at some point, where I think at some point, not anytime soon, but at some point, you're going to be able to buy a box that just plays everything. Or you're going to be able to play, if cloud gaming takes off, it's going to be an app on your smart TV or something, you know, and it's sad. Like I enjoy having the box under my TV, and just, I mean, we're all grew up having these boxes underneath, right? Like it doesn't matter. But like then you see, like, you look at phones, for example, you can play Fortnite on everything, right? You can play something
except for Apple.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, theoretically,
and Google Play for a split second.
Okay, yeah. Maybe Fortnite was a terrible example just now, but my point is like you just download the app and you can play these games, you know, and I could see these games going that way, where Samsung partners with Microsoft to include an Xbox controller in the box with your TV, and you just play through the Xbox app.
Oh yeah.
I think the problem with crossplay is that we've seen that Sony has too big of an attitude to really drop their end of it and say, hey, yeah, we'll allow Xbox players to play. I think it's going to take a game like Overwatch 2, where there's going to be a huge competitive market there, and Blizzard saying, hey, you know what? Fine, if you guys don't want to do crossplay, we're going to give Xbox a better exclusive here, or we're going to give Xbox some advantage there, to finally get Sony to say, okay, screw it, fine, we'll do it.
Well, besides the fact that you mentioned Overwatch, the first thing I think of is like once true crossplay happens, like PC players are going to wipe the floor with those guys anyway.
That's true.
But then we're also going to see like really cutthroat things happening. Like people are going to be in the lobbies like, oh, this guy's a PC player, he's automatically on the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, and you're kind of seeing that with PC crossplay now, right? Where you with Call of Duty, for example, you can choose to queue with people without keyboard and mouse support.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see, as crossplay becomes a bigger thing, you're going to be able to tweak your settings and be like, well, I don't want to play against controller people because I'm playing with mouse keyboard, or I'm only playing with controller. I don't want to get clobbered. So
well, because like Epic was so smart when they released on iOS before Apple was jerks. They were like, hey, we're only going to put you in other games with mobile or with mobile players because there's a distinct disadvantage there.
Yeah. I'm just going to tap this guy. He's going to die. So, all right, we're gonna move into this last question here. Hey, this is from Samantha Cross. She writes in and says, "Hey everyone, I have a question for you. Are you a fan of games as a service, or do you prefer single player games? Discuss."
I love games as a service, but they have to do it right because like the problem games as a service that you wind up getting the gamers distrust if it always seems like you're pushing out product that may be incomplete or whatnot, and that's the slippery slope that games as a service has to go through. Like we need to have the confidence from the developers that like this is the final product, and then they're going to build up on it. Like for example, I'm a Monster Hunter player, and everything that we've seen with all these updates and these new releases for Monster Hunter, it seems like they are just building on top of it, and they weren't just finishing a product that they hit a crunch for and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of games as a service. It's as long as I feel like it is completely trustworthy and genuine from the developers and the marketing team.
Mm-hmm.
The most genius example I think you can think of is GTA 5, right? Like GTA 5 as a base level has a great story mode. Following the Trevor story, that's awesome. You go into the online though, and all the freaking updates, stunt races, the casino, all the different airplane stuff, the businesses. Like, I legitimately don't think I'm crazy. Please don't think I'm crazy. But I've bought in GTA because it's always held. It's really held as trade value for GameStop. I have bought and sold that game 9 times now. Now I bought it digitally finally, but like I keep coming back to that game because like they just keep adding so much to it. It's crazy. Then you have like the games that fail. I think Destiny 2 is an example of it where it failed at the beginning, and then Destiny's been able to sort of right that ship. The one that's going to be interesting to me is Square Enix here with Avengers. I mean, they've said this game is coming. It's going to be lasting forever, and we know we got Spider-Man coming to PlayStation users, and I assume we're probably going to get more heroes. Like in the beta, as much as I've played the beta, like there's an easy comparison where you can see how Ant-Man's going to be able to fall into this game with some of Kamala's powers and stuff. It's like, okay, I can see how they're going to be able to bring Ant-Man into this.
You can definitely see the archetypes they're building with these heroes, and they're going to like War Machine, right? Will be an Iron Man clone probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I see like, Hulkbuster will probably be another. Through that data mine, Hulkbuster was one of the data mines, right? But it'll probably play like Hulk,
Well, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, technically, Hulkbuster you can already access as Iron Man's super, but yeah, you can definitely see where they're going to go with this. I would be shocked if they didn't put X-Men into this at some point too. I mean, people have been begging for a good X-Men game for years, and Avengers is an easy place where you could fit them in as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how much control Marvel has over that. We're like, okay, we're working the X-Men into MCU, so maybe we want to time the X-Men release in the Avengers game with the the X-Men being introduced. Like, there's a rumor that I don't know how steel plated this is, but Shia LaBeouf is up for the role of Iceman in the introduction of MCU X-Men stuff. So like if he's introduced, maybe you introduce Iceman as an X-Men character, or maybe one or two characters, like maybe Iceman and Pyro or something, or I would love to see
like here in November when we've got Black Widow coming out. I mean, all the Black Widow side characters coming into the game, or maybe you have specialized missions that take you through some of the movie stuff as well. I mean, remember, I mean, back in like the mid 2000s when these Marvel video games were also following the movie storyline as well, and you could be watching. They would literally just put in clips of that as your what do you call it? Like, cutscenes. Yeah, you'd have cutscenes from the movie. I think that'd be so cool just to have like when Doctor Strange into the Multiverse is coming out. Like we get Doctor Strange in the game, and we get Natalie Portman's Lady Thor coming in for Thor: Love and Thunder.
In all seriousness, I used to play a mobile game called Marvel Contest of Champions, and they did a phenomenal job of whenever like new events was happening in the MCU. In the MCU, not the comic books, in the MCU, whenever stuff was going on, they found a way to tie in that mobile game to the stuff that's going on in the MCU, even if it was like very, very loose. Because I remember they brought Cable in. Right when there was an announcement about Cable showing up in the second Deadpool movie. And even though like Cable's interaction in that game didn't have anything even close to doing with like Cable in Deadpool, when they pulled him in, it worked, and it caused people to just throw their credit card numbers in and buy all that all the microtransaction stuff.
Plus, like when you could release a character early, like when the marketing cycle starts, and then when the movie comes out, you could sell them skins or something like that. I don't know. I mean, games as a service is a tricky thing. Like I think the battle pass has become a pretty standard thing now. Overwatch, you still buy loot boxes and stuff. Like you said though, LeRon, I like a game as a service if they're doing it correctly, if they're doing it, without, of course it's a business, they want to make the most money they can, but if they don't seem maniacal about it, I think it's okay. I play a lot of Destiny, right? That's a game that's had its ups and downs for this thing, but like they have their $40 expansions every year, and then each season within the expansion is $10, right? So they do that with the their version of the battle pass, and it's cool, but it just depends, Like I still prefer single player games as well, but like I said, it just depends. I think everybody has their, as of now, like their game as a service game or one or two that they play, and then they'll when they're kind of tired of that or their friends aren't on or whatever, they migrate to their single player stuff. And because I played a lot of I'm trying to finish Assassin's Creed Odyssey before Valhalla comes out. I still probably have like 300 hours to go, but
dude.
And following up on that, I also have a preference for single player games. Like it's something about just being able to get in, get out, and move on. Because like I said, I have a giant backlog of games to play and stuff like that. So something I'm playing Monster Hunter. And that's my combined game time between PS4 and the Steam version is over 900 hours.
I'm like that with Destiny. So
so I mean, like I prefer being able, like, I need to take a break from this big massive game that I'm playing, and spend 20 hours on a certain game and then get back to my other game and stuff like that. So I feel like there's always going to be a place for single player games. As a matter of fact, I hope there's always a place for single player games, because if anything, like Sony hit it out the park on last console by focusing on single player games and stuff like that, and and it's made the other big brands like realize, hey, there's a place for this stuff. It's made developers like EA and EA and Activision realize, oh wait, there is a market for this. Why aren't we doing this?
Well, because I think, I think Sony's been very aware that their audience is getting older, and as we all know, we have families, we have lives, we have things outside of video games. We can't always get together to play games as a group like we used to when we were in our younger days. And so that single player attraction is, hey, I can play at 2 a.m. when I'm trying to make my newborn fall back asleep, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I mean, I think that's kind of the way it goes. Going kind of back to the season pass thing for a second. I think microtransactions have been that thing that have been under fire for so long with different games and stuff. I want microtransactions to become that thing of where it's instead of being like skins and stuff like that, I want it to just be let's just buy the expansion pack for Avengers. Let's get the X-Men pass in here. Let's do that, or whatever Destiny's doing. Like I think Destiny 2 has actually turned into kind of the way I think microtransactions should be handled in the future, instead of like how Battlefront 2 did for a little while and Fortnite kind of does all the time. I mean, I want it to be more about the content rather than just like skins and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I've also dabbled in a few other ones. Like I think there's some games as a service that seem like okay single player experiences, like The Division. I played the entire The Division by myself. It was fine, right? But like Destiny, like you said, is I like the way that Destiny does it. And if you want to sit out a season, you don't buy the season pass, right? Like it's just whatever. So. That's all of our questions. They did show off Gotham Knights. I don't know if you guys just want to wait for that for Tuesday, but it looks like an interesting take on maybe a game as a service.
I was hoping for Batgirl, but hey, I'll take Gotham Knights.
I mean, Batgirl is a playable character, so
okay, fair enough.
It's Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood are the four.
I can live with that.
So. Well, I think that's gonna do it. You guys played anything interesting before we get out of here?
Tony Hawk Pro Skater beta.
Yeah, how was that?
That has been so much fun. I feel like I'm 10 years old and doing crazy tricks all over the Foundry. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just downloaded and installed Battletoads. Hadn't had a chance to play it yet, but I plan to crack into that a little bit this weekend. Just for if anything, just for the nostalgia. And also, I just need to like get a little more flex on my Game Pass subscription right now.
Yeah, well, you could download some Flight Sim if you want to.
I'm actually thinking about that just to test how good my computer is, because the last Flight Sim game was wrecking people's computers, and I just want to see how mine stacks up. I'm pretty sure the level of entry for this flight simulator game is substantially lower than the last flight sim game.
Yeah, because aren't they like streaming the assets in from Big Maps? I think they said.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Yeah, I saw Major Nelson fly over Walt Disney World on his Twitter feed, and I was like, maybe I should just download it just to see what it's like. So. Yeah, I've been I just downloaded Battletoads this week too. I haven't played it yet. I've been playing some Destiny and making progress there, and that's kind of all I can say at this point. This Solstice of Heroes event is going on where you have to grind out for this really special armor that is only going to last you for like a year. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's worth it.
I've got friends yelling at me to get back on Monster Hunter because like Monster Hunter started a whole new like event cycle right now, and it's like everybody's like, "Hey, get back on this," and I'm like, I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
Corey, I do want to ask you. You mentioned in a tweet earlier you've been playing the Avengers beta. What have you liked about it, and what have you not liked about it?
Oh yeah, I did. I played a little bit this morning. I want to like it. Like I feel like every character just play like Thor, for example, right? I feel like I played God of War and I know how that game feels. And it just feels like every character is like the way they feel and the way they move and just the way that the combat works is like, I've played this game before and this just feels like a B tier version of that game. But like Iron Man, I'm like, why didn't they just steal the flying from Anthem? Or the Hulk? The Hulk probably
feels like they did. Yeah.
The Hulk feels the best, honestly. Like the Hulk is the character that feels the best to me so far.
Every time I pop into a Twitch stream that's doing the Avengers, like all I'm seeing is Hulk players. That's all I'm seeing.
Yeah. Hulk feels the best. Black Widow. I only played the part where she's fighting Taskmaster, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just dodging and punching at this point. It doesn't. I don't really have an opinion on her. Kamala Khan feels interesting. Like I think she's okay, but like walking through the woods as Bruce Banner in that first kind of story mission, I'm like, why is he floating? Why is he floating? It doesn't feel like I'm walking. I know that's stuff that they can probably fix and stuff, but I want to like it. I think maybe this games as a service model that they're doing, I don't know how deep it's going to be, right? Like I don't know if it's going to be Destiny levels deep where you can add mods to your armor and whatever. Are they going to have universal armor and then specialty armor, stuff like that? But so far, I like it. I don't love it.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a wait and see at this point for me. I also want to see if some of the issues I'm having will be fixed with next gen versions as well. So
I've been loving it. Iron Man's actually my favorite to play with because it has the same takeoff system as Anthem. As much crap as Anthem got, I actually kind of enjoyed that game a little bit.
The flying in Anthem was amazing. I don't think anybody can deny that.
Yeah.
Is the stuff that they built around it was kind of
Yeah, the story was kind of a joke. The only critique I've had is Nolan North as Iron Man. It just doesn't have that Iron Man, Tony Stark charm, and maybe I've been too spoiled with having RDJ as Iron Man in the MCU for the last decade. But
yeah, I think you're spoiled.
Yeah, you have that plus like Nolan North has such a recognizable voice anyway at this point too.
Yeah,
where comparing the two is just like, oh man, I wish they would have put Nolan North as like maybe Captain America or Hawkeye or someone else, Because
like Troy Baker did a great job with Banner.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell it's Troy Baker at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like as soon as he started talking as Tony Stark, I'm like, man, this is just Nolan North being Nolan North. I can't, and it was the same thing. Like in Destiny, he plays the Ghost, obviously. But when Forsaken came out, the big thing was they killed off Cade Six, which is people can listen to Tire Casuals for that stuff. But like he tried to do his best Nathan Fillion impression, and it was actually pretty decent. But you could definitely tell it was Nolan North, and I'm like, this just doesn't sound like the same character. It just sounds like Nolan North doing an impression. That's like everybody he plays at this point. He's either Nathan Drake or Desmond from Assassin's Creed or Nolan North doing an impression of somebody else is all I hear now.
Oh, that's the truth. That is true.
But like Kamala was really well voiced for everything I've seen her, and then the 2 seconds that I've seen of Director Fury was pretty good too. I mean, across the board, I like the concept that they're doing, where it does kind of feel like Destiny. You're teaming up with the team, and then you're doing your mission and all. I'm curious to see what the story ends up being like, because I mean, the whole A-Day thing that really intrigues me, and I'm really curious to see how Spider-Man fits in. Because if Spider-Man doesn't feel like Insomniac Spider-Man, it's gonna ruin it. Because Insomniac did such a great job with the swing mechanic, with the combat, with the look. Yeah, it's gonna be curious.
Yeah, I want. That's another thing too. Is like I'm kind of waiting to see if playing a Spider-Man is going to be worth it too. Like having him there. Because like for me, I'm not a huge Spider-Man guy. I want to know what, like I liked how Captain America played a lot actually.
Yeah.
But obviously, spoilers for the first 20 minutes of the Avengers, like he dies. So I want to know how they bring him back, or how they kind of maybe if Falcon comes in as the new Captain America. Like I want to know how they kind of do that, because I would play as Captain America. I just really like the way he played a lot.
Yeah, using the shield as a frisbee and having the interaction with that. I mean, it almost kind of felt like the Leviathan axe, like when you call it back and everything like that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So, like if they just tighten up the controls a little bit, I think I would like it a lot better. And I'm interested in where the story goes, and I'm interested to see how Kamala Khan kind of fits into these characters that most of us already know, and maybe people don't know who Kamala Khan is, and see how they kind of introduce her into this world that we kind of are already familiar with. So, well, I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening to the Boss Rush podcast. You can catch us every Saturday live right here on twitch.tv/Boss Rush Games Live. And you can catch our family of shows on your podcast service of choice and on our YouTube page and live here as well. Check out Crossroads, the PlayStation podcast on Tuesday, live pilot episode. Very excited. LeRon, remind everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on social media on Twitter at EXODUS803, Exodus803. That's also, you can also follow that handle to Twitch, and that you find my channel there. I typically try to stream every Monday, Wednesday night, and usually is a round robin for the weekend days, things like that. I do have a YouTube channel. You guys keep hearing that I'm going to say something about it. I will eventually say something about it. I'm trying to get it under wraps, and also the name's in conflict with another channel out there, so I need to get it right, so everybody doesn't think I'm just some poser out there.
There's always that one outlet that has the name you want. Like, you can get it everywhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the thing is crazy because my gamer tag Exodus803, like, that's very unique, and somehow somebody has that on YouTube, and I'm like, wait, what? I've had this thing since I was in my 20s, and you're telling me that someone else divined this?
Yeah, it's like I really like the handle Corian HD because my middle name starts with an H and my last name starts with a D. And I literally had it everywhere except for Twitter, where one guy has it, and he hasn't tweeted since 2014. And it's like, just give it to me, dude. You clearly aren't using it.
Yeah, I don't want to be the douchebag that like gets in contact with this person that has Exodus803 and be like, hey, I noticed you haven't posted anything in 8 years. Can you deactivate your account?
Yeah. Sometimes you can contact YouTube or Twitter, and they'll fix it for you, but that takes forever. So
thanks for giving me that idea. I might just do that.
Yeah, dude, I've been trying to contact Twitter for like a year and a half now. So
we just have to put money in Jack Dorsey's pocket or somthing. I guess that's what it is.
I'll slip you this nice Washington if you let me have this. Logan, thank you for being here as well. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Logan Corkins. That's LoganCorkins, or catch me on Land Party. We're available anywhere. You can get podcast services, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. And then you can catch me on Instagram, Logan Corkins 27 on Instagram. Check it out. I post a lot of food pics, and I'm from Kansas City, so it's always going to have some sort of barbecue in it.
Yeah, that thing you posted the other day was I was salivating. So
instant
hard.
Drool.
The Z-Man sandwich, man. Oh, it's a Kansas City classic.
Oh, man. You can find me at I am Corian HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can also catch me on Nintendo Power Block, our Nintendo show. Please check out our family of shows. We have something for everybody. You can also find me on Tower Casuals, our Destiny podcast with Josh Finney. Very excited for the future of that show as well. Big things happening here at Boss Rush Games. Very excited for the future. So, I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you.